All right. Happy New Year. The celebrations have died down and I'm sleep deprived, so I'm just going to ramble for a bit, or introducing future ramblings, because I can yap for a long time. But in general, I just really hate political discourse. It's not that, oh, it is too lowbrow or it's not focusing on the important things, but it's just that it's missing the point entirely. Like people just want to win arguments. They want to win over some ideal that is not even going to make them happy in the end. And I think it's because we've raised ourselves so far above each other in different ways and so far above our own nature. And because of that, I like to take the approach of looking at how uh, if you imagine if you're a nature documentary producer, you're just recording things in nature. And I think you're recording is us. You're just recording people in nature. Then you can immediately see through our progression how much more than it we've become. There's a lot of things that we still do, um, as if we were out in the wild, and this is just stuff that every animal does, right? We just um, we just give it more complex ideas than it actually deserves. If you see something new, if you give something new to an animal, it will be curious about it. But the most base instinct of curiosity is fear, is having a fear response. Because you don't know, you have your goal in life, quote unquote, if we're demystifying humans, if we're removing religion from the mix, is to survive. Right? It's to survive and have children, whatever you want to say. But you can't tell if something new that you're just experiencing is going to help you survive or not. But the moment you understand more of the new thing, then you then you realize it's just something else you can interpret, something else that you can identify, and you just continue with your life. And this happens all the time in day-to-day life, but because society has given us a certain level of security that we can expect, suddenly things that are natural to you are villainized, right? Oh, you don't trust someone you just met? Then you get all sorts of labels, right? Suddenly, if you're an introvert, you're you basically have a mentality that is a gateway to something worse for no reason. You're just being observed by people who want to spurg out and just insult you, insinuate things about you, etc., etc. And all of this is just depending on what the popular politic is, what the way of viewing the world is. But who dictates this? Because at some point it stops serving the individual. It stops serving us. And if you look at the people that make all the decisions, the people that have all the power in different ways, whether if it's land, whether if it's technology, etc., etc., it's either governments, corporations, some mingling of that, whatever it is, right? Everyone has their own conspiracy theorists, no, conspiracy theories of what happens in the world, whether a war is uh, being done for profit in one way or another, etc., etc. Point is, people are completely out of the equation in a lot of things. It's just profit or outcome, right? As long as we get the necessary profit, as long as we have the expected outcome, people have become numbers in the spreadsheet to whichever powers that may, the power that be that you believe in, right? And chances are whichever one you believe in is right. by dehumanizing us at the start, right? By just treating us like animals, not in the same way that we treat a lot of animals, whether it's, oh, we view ourselves as cattle, we view ourselves as domesticated, etc., etc. If you just look at us by like, just you just observe how we deal with things. It's not that different from what animals do, whether if it's saving energy, right? Going through the path of least resistance for the same outcome, right? Or any other process. We're basically the same. But if we behave the same as every other animal, is it truly just our bodies developing opposable thumbs, having the biology that we have that led us to the point that we're at now? Would any other humanoid body animal develop the ideas of God, develop science, develop mathematics, develop language, develop universal languages that can be easily understood by everyone, right? Counting from 1 to 10 because we have 10 fingers, etc., etc. Is it all an inevitability? Would every great ape eventually reach to the point where we are now? You can think that, you cannot, but the point is there's something more to us, even if you completely dehumanize us and you just observe the things that we do, right? And by doing that, you can develop an innate sense of empathy, right? You can have your own opinions on morality, right? You can believe that you can only be moral if you're religious in some way. That's perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, if you put two people, right, who are not in conflict with each other, next to each other, but they have a completely different set of beliefs, right? Let's say an atheist together with a religious person. Same street, they're neighbors. One invites the other for a barbecue. They're going to attend, they're going to have a great time. They might even talk shit about each other, but they'll have a great time. They won't actually be at each other's throats. This is what you actually see when you put people who are vastly different together with each other. And they behave extremely naturally. They're observant of each other at first. They continue living their lives knowing that they just have a neighbor, and they make the best out of it. Right? Same goes with short-term gain versus long-term gain. Every animal is terrible with this, right? Most animals don't even reason about this. They just instinctually do things in a certain way. It just so happens that by the miracle of how nature works, certain long-term strategies work. And the ones that had this ingrained in them, they just survived. But every animal that you present a lot of food immediately, they will just overfeed themselves to death. Why? Because in nature you have no certainty of when you have your next meal. They have no notion of overfeeding themselves because that's non-existent in nature. First come, first served. So first come, I'm gonna eat it all, even if the long term is I've overfed myself, I'm somehow going to die, whether I'm getting chased by a predator or whether I develop some problem. And we see this with people gambling, right? They see the short term. Well, it's only $1, it's only €1, and I can make a lot. Oh well, I only played once. It wasn't a big deal. I'll play twice. I'll play 3 times. It's still not a big deal. But the problem is that was years ago that you've been playing $3, €3 at a time every day, and you're still doing it. Right? The long term gets obscured by the potential of short-term gain. Short-term gain. Right? It's natural, and just by looking at nature, you can see how we came to be. Some people have no empathy for people who become addicted to what we refer to as vices, or if it's, you know, the idea of the seven deadly sins, whether if it's lust, right, and the addictions associated with it, whether if it's greed and the associations with being addicted to it, people stop empathizing very quickly. whether you empathize with them or not, it doesn't matter. But to at least understand that there's a reason to as to why this happens, then maybe you can start having a discussion rather than seeing uh, or rather talking about points of view on the same problem. You can just say, well, this is a natural problem, right? We tend to get addicted to things. Let's discuss solutions. Some people justify these solutions by saying we should completely ban them. They do nothing for us. Other people say, well, because we're so human, we understand the problem. And some people see it as nothing more than entertainment. And then you have the question of freedom, etc., etc. I added family. I'm kind of winging this, so I kind of forgot what I wanted to say with family. But I want to make more videos looking at nature, comparing how we do things, seeing that the way that we innately react to some things is completely natural, and that politics is making boogeymen out of things that are completely natural instead of trying to make a paradigm that is, okay, us with our addictive nature, right? Every time we've tried to ban an addictive substance, it still is there. You can make it extremely illegal, it's still going to be there, right? If you truly want to get rid of it, you have to expose all of its filth, and this goes to any problem. If you really want to get rid of a problem, you have to expose its entire filth. You have to talk about it to death. The things that you really dislike, right? You have to bring them out, and at least we can have a conversation as to why certain things are how they are. Otherwise, people will just not trust you, right? Why is alcohol so accepted and other things aren't? Well, at some point it wasn't, right? You have the prohibition era, but that was a while ago. Suddenly we're enlightened in some way. I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm not gonna continue yapping before I make this another hour-long video. But yeah, just you are less evil than you think you are, just by if you look at your own decision making. Now, the moment that you start acting on things, right? Let's say you start hurting people out of fear, the fear response, we can justify that with nature. Hurting someone else, bring your own sense of morality. The majority of people, myself included, are going to have zero sympathy for you, but it is what it is. You can bring a religion, you can bring your opinion of maybe you don't need religion to be moral, but at least you can have that conversation at that point.